This is my fourth podcast compiled during the COVID-19 pandemic as an idea about some films which might be a watch during the lockdown. These 5 films are all about alien invasions of Earth. They are pretty well all big budget outings, and although there are some interesting low budget sci-fi films, they are all hampered by their lack of money and so sometimes quite irritating. But I like the 5 discussed here a lot, and I think they would be worth viewing even if you are not a science fiction fan. The first alien invasion film I have chosen is Predator, which was released in 1987. The idea for this movie came from a joke which suggested that Sylvester Stallone had got to the point in Rocky where his next opponent would have to have been an alien. So the script requires a group of elite soldiers to trog about in the Central American jungle with the intent of rescuing some hostages from a terrorist camp. This is a minor aspect of the plot, intended to get them into the jungle and to show what expert warriors they are. And it is when they are successful in the work, killing almost everybody in sight, that they become aware that they themselves are being hunted by an invisible enemy. Gradually, over the duration of the film, despite their amazing fatigues and their heavy armament, they are killed until there is only their leader, Dutch, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, left. And when he manages to trap the assailant briefly, we catch a glimpse of the alien, who is about 7 feet high, wears strange armour. Dutch finds that when he is covered in mud, the creature cannot see him, which gives him a small advantage, since he is being targeted by strange beam weapons. Indeed, it is difficult to see in some ways why the creature would bother to hunt humans, even if they have firearms, since its armour and weapons are so superior. Interestingly, this point is addressed in a later Predator film, ingeniously putting up the Predator against the Alien. This was one of a number of sequels, the latest from 2018, directed by Shane Black, who was in the original film. The creature is so well known that when things are normal in the centre of Madrid, where people parade about in Disney costumes for tips, there is one guy who appears as the Predator. I have given him money. The next film is The Fifth Element from 1997, written and directed by Luc Besson. I admit to being a bit of a Luc Besson fan. He has written and directed and produced numerous really fun films. This outing was said to be by one critic to be a fantastic piece of pop science-fi culture which never really takes itself too seriously. Corbin Dallas, played by Bruce Willis, is a taxi driver in a future New York where the cars float about above the ground. He is floating along a street when a scantily clad young woman crashes through the roof of his taxi. It turns out that she is part of a means by which Earth is to be protected from an approaching evil entity, looking to us like an enormous fiery ball. Corbin delivers the female to an ancient order of priests whose job it is to assist with the protection of the planet, and he is prompted to assist them to recover 4 elemental stones from an alien opera singer who is to perform on a space cruise ship. As I am attempting to describe the plot, I realise that I'm going to have to cut to the chase. The young woman, played by Mila Jovovich, Corbin Dallas and the priests end up on the space cruise ship, where Dallas watches an operatic performance by this singing alien, incidentally said by the actual singer to be impossible, so bits of her performance were strung together. Meanwhile, Lilu, the woman, takes on a group of Mangalores, who are alien mercenaries, not very bright but heavily armed. And later, Corbin is ambushed by a similar troop of Mangalores, and there is a massive shootout. Also on board the space cruiser is Zorg, the malevolent entity's representative on Earth, who sets an explosive device with a timer, making evacuation necessary. Dallas, Lilu, and the priests with the elemental stones escape from the spacecraft before it explodes, to the relief of the President of Earth and his team. But it is not all over. All of this stuff is great fun. The costumes were designed by Jean-Paul Gaultier, one of them costing $5,000. And it took a team of 5 months to construct New York City with buildings about 20 feet high. The film was well received by nearly everybody, except feminist groups who thought that the women were poorly represented, saying that there is only one woman in the world government and she doesn't say anything. We move on to District 9, released in 2009, which is more of an immigration than an invasion. In a recent alternative past, a vast spaceship appears over Johannesburg, and a large number of dying aliens are rescued from it and located in a camp known as District 9. The aliens have a superficial resemblance to crustaceans and so are known as prawns. The government decides to relocate the prawns and so contracts with an arms manufacturer, MNU, to carry out the job, and in a moment of nepotism, an executive from the company appoints his son-in-law, Wickus, to manage the operation. From this point it is all downhill for Wickus, who is a mild-mannered young man. Things become increasingly complex as he becomes involved with a prawn. Christopher Johnson is the name ironic, nobody actually says, who has been developing an alien fuel which will allow a small control ship hidden under his shack to return to the mothership. Wickus accidentally sprays himself with the fuel, which results in him gradually transforming into a prawn, and he becomes an ally of Christopher in his search for more fuel. Wickus can also, due to his partial alien DNA, operate prawn weapons, which are particularly deadly. But because of this, the MNU capture him and with the intent of experimenting on him to gain the ability. Fortunately, he is able to escape, but his problems are not over as a criminal gang of Nigerians capture him and the chief intends to eat his arm so that he can gain the ability to use the weapons as well. So by this time we are wondering whether he will be rescued by his new friends, and even if he is, will his gradual transformation into a prawn be stopped? The film was directed by Neil Blomkamp, who selected a friend, Sholto Copley, for the role of Wickus. Copley had never acted before, but has gone on to fulfill other quite demanding roles. Many people have seen the film as an allegory of the treatment of certain sectors of the population of South Africa during apartheid. Many Nigerians complained at the negative portrayal of their countrymen. There was a follow-up, Chappie, about a robot policeman in the same filmic universe, also worth a view. We move on to The Edge of Tomorrow, released in 2014. This is a film developed from a Japanese 2004 sci-fi novel, All You Need Is Kill, and its progress follows the Hollywood joke, "This is a great script, who can we get to rewrite it?" Sure enough, it had been rewritten umpteen times, the last time actually during the filming. The fundamentals of the film are: 1. Earth has been invaded by aliens who are squid-like entities, apparently without motive, but who under certain circumstances can reset time to refight battles. 2. Major William Cage, played by Tom Cruise, a man from the PR department, is demoted to private and forced to join a combat team who are fighting aliens equipped but equipped with motorized battle suits. 3. He is useless, but is accidentally drenched in the blood of an important alien when he is killed by an explosion. This allows him to reset time as well. After being killed, he wakes up before the first battle, joins the combat team again, and this time does better, and so on. When he meets super soldier Rita Vrataski, played wonderfully by Emily Blunt, she realizes what his capabilities are, and over a number of time resets trains him to be another skilled warrior. Incidentally, feminists could hardly complain about this movie, since she is undoubtedly the central character, despite the fact that Cruise is in the cast. If I were being critical, after its successful first and second acts, the filmmaker could not resist a big finish, which is just a bit irritating, but don't let that put you off. My wife accidentally came to the screening with me and agreed that it was okay, an accolade for sci-fi from her. It cost a fortune to make, in Britain actually, and the studio spent $100 million on publicity, but it has still made money. The last film we come to is A Quiet Place from 2018. Having attempted to describe a number of other sci-fi films with complex plots, we come to A Quiet Place. It has a plot which is simplicity itself, possibly because it completely lacks backstory. We meet a family who are searching for food in a supermarket in what we quickly realise is a dystopian future, but we are not sure what the problem is, other than the fact that no one has looted any crisps from the shop. At this point, the Abbott family, Lee and Evelyn, played by husband and wife John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, with their children, deaf daughter Regan and sons Marcus and Beau, start on their way home barefoot. But Regan, who we remember is deaf, gives Beau, who is about 5, a battery-powered space shuttle toy. He accidentally activates it and is instantly swept out of sight by something fierce. We find that the world has been invaded by aliens which are armoured and therefore indestructible and blind, but have super-sensitive hearing, allowing them to attack and devour anyone or anything making a noise. The Abbott family here have the advantage of being able to talk in sign language. But on the downside, Evelyn is pregnant, so how is she to remain silent during labour? And will the efforts made by Lee to soundproof the basement of their house be successful? Lee has also made a hearing aid in order to help Regan hear, but it does not work. However, when operated, it has an unexpected effect on the creatures. This was a film on a moderate budget which made a lot of money and has won numerous awards. It has spawned a sequel, which would have come out by now, except for the lockdown has delayed it. If there is a downside, there would seem to be a massive plot hole, which we have to ignore as we wait with some enthusiasm for A Quiet Place 2 to be available on screens around us. So that's it for this week. For us in Spain, the lockdown continues, although apparently children are to be let out for an hour today and for every day thereafter. Things seem to be getting a bit better here, and elsewhere there are signs of improvement. But even so, in most places the lockdown continues. So have a go at these super sci-fi films. They are all fun to watch. Thanks for listening and keep safe.